There's no denying that pickup trucks have a certain draw to them. Whatever that draw is, it certainly gets amped up by the much-anticipated EV versions of the trucks we know and love. Ever since a flashy, eventful, and somewhat eccentric unveil back in 2019, Tesla's Cybertruck has been the hot topic on everyone's lips. This rugged electric vehicle captured the whole world's attention in some way or another. But now, almost 2 years and thousands of memes later, there's a new big player in the EV game, and its name is Canoo. No, we're not talking about that narrow wooden boat that looks like it was built to flip over. Today's topic is a lot stabler than that. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Cybertruck's most promising and most advanced competitor to date, the Canoo pickup truck. Beginnings. Canoo, formerly known as Evolocity, is a California-based startup founded in 2017 with the goal of designing, manufacturing, and retailing different kinds of electric vehicles. When Canoo launched their first EV, a microbus-style electric van back in 2019, they definitely could not have anticipated their meteoric rise to the top a mere 2 years later with the Canoo pickup truck. Their recently launched EV truck is everything that you want to see from a so-called car of the future. With a rounded and rather cubed front end, this truck looks nothing like the Ram 1500s and Toyota Hiluxes you're used to seeing. Canoo's founder and CEO Ulrich Kranz famously said that with today's electric combustion trains, there's no need for a car that looks like a traditional combustion energy vehicle, or a regular gas-powered car as we laymen would call it. If you think about it, that statement makes a lot of sense, especially since this EV pickup truck looks like something straight out of a Blade Runner movie. Trucks are us. Scheduled for release in 2023, Canoo's pickup truck is best described as their first minibus-like EV with the back end chopped off and replaced with a 6-foot truck bed. The near-perfect physical resemblance of two vehicles that have totally different utilities is puzzling to say the least. But the reason behind it is quite simple: skateboards. Yes, you heard us right. Their proprietary skateboard is the foundation of all of Canoo's EVs. And no, we're not talking about a Tony Hawk or Lil Wayne type of skateboard. We're talking about this: a powerful and pretty cool electric go-kart that you didn't even know you wanted until just now. This groundbreaking new technology is Canoo's most cherished brainchild, being the heart and soul of each and every one of their electric vehicles. But how does a small startup compete with the big players in the automotive industry like Ford, GMC, and Chevrolet, who are all seemingly boarding the EV truck hype train? You wouldn't expect it, but objectively speaking, Canoo's pickup truck has everything it takes to be the new staple among truck lovers because, hey, what's not to love about that adorable little thing? Big things in a small package. And when we say little, we mean little. Their truck may have relatively smaller dimensions when compared to its competitors, but it still has a surprisingly high payload of 1,800 pounds with a decent battery range of about 200 miles. In fact, Canoo's pickup truck is only 6 inches longer than a Subaru Impreza and a full 5 feet shorter than a Ford F-150. This is made even more impressive when you consider the 6-foot extendable truck bed that they were able to deliver in the same compact package. With its truck bed covered, this EV is actually more of a van than some actual vans and minibuses. Talk about space management, right? Utility is what Canoo wanted their pickup to be built around, and boy did they do it. Canoo's pickup has an array of fold-down doors that act as work tables or benches in the front and side of the car. The truck's already impressive 6-foot bed can also expand to 8 feet. And if that wasn't enough, the bed can also be used to set up a tent when you go out camping. There's direct access to the cabin from the cargo area, so you don't have to worry about leaving the camper shell in the middle of the night. The outdoorsy type. In our opinion, this is by far the best camping vehicle money can buy, when it's available, of course. With loads of 120-volt and USB power outlets dotted around the storage compartments, you can already tell how popular this car will be with the millennial crowd. If you're waiting for your family to give their input on the new EV, don't even think twice about it. Your kid definitely wants the car that's gonna charge her Switch on the ride to Grandma's. You might have guessed that creating the future is by no means cheap. According to a recent government filing, Canoo spent a staggering $47 million on research and development in 2018, $137 million in 2019, and $52 million through the first 3 quarters of 2020. So what have they dedicated this fortune to? You might be surprised to know that the truck bed is their biggest investment yet. Canoo's new executive chairman, Tony Aquila, believes that they have developed the most intelligent truck bed on the market. And from what we've seen so far, nobody's disputing that. Electric horses. If you're anything like us, you'll want to know what's under the hood before you start really drooling over a car. Well, the Canoo pickup truck has absolutely nothing under the hood. In this case, there's a storage space and a bunch of power outlets where you'd normally find the engine. The motor and every other component of the car is housed onto the previously mentioned and forever cool skateboard. They haven't released too many details on the battery size, but Canoo's premium tier pickup truck will have more than 200 miles of range and 600 horsepower with 550 pounds force-foot of torque. The lower-cost versions will have a little over 100 miles of range and feature a single motor in the rear. It's worth noting, however, that Canoo will find a way to up the range to 300 miles on both versions by the time of release, as stated by Aquila in a recent Reuters interview. Alien technology? The general presentation of Canoo's pickup truck is unfamiliar to say the least. And in case you were wondering, the truck's rounded edges and toyish demeanor are intentional and mostly aesthetic. To be fair, the vehicle's mechanics are foreign to us all, with the whole truck being built on a skateboard chassis that can be modified to house just about anything and everything. The car was designed so efficiently that they don't even have to worry about connecting the steering wheel mechanically. Rather, it favors a steer-by-wire system with electronic rather than mechanical connections between the controls and the steering. The brakes on Canoo's pickup truck are electric as well, recovering the energy that would have been lost had they used a mechanical braking system. Take our money already! The bundle of electric joy that is the Canoo pickup truck is still quite some time away from release, and we bet you can't wait to give them your money. Well, about that. Once Canoo's pickup truck is released, you won't actually be able to buy and own it. And the same case applies to all their EVs. Canoo will be adopting a subscription-based kind of product service system that is, for some reason or another, highly polarizing in the vehicle industry. It's kind of weird to think of your car the same way you think about your Netflix and HBO Max accounts. Or is it? One all-inclusive monthly payment will offer subscribers the vehicle, registration, access to insurance, maintenance, and charging on a month-to-month basis. As many critics as this new concept may have, it has all the chops it takes to cause a major paradigm shift in the idea of vehicle ownership. If you look at it objectively, a subscription-based model puts an end to the many hassles that come with owning a vehicle, and at the same time, it offers a high-end, commitment-free EV experience to an even wider market. And better yet, you don't have to own the dreaded depreciation that comes with buying new vehicles. Nobody wants to go through the horror of driving off the lot in your brand new Mercedes, and it's worth the same as your annoying neighbor's Toyota in a matter of seconds. Nobody. Speaking of high-end EV experiences, why don't we take a moment and acknowledge how good Canoo's pickup truck looks in the pictures we've seen so far. The car is damn near posing, don't you think? If it makes you feel any better, you won't have to wait until 2023 to have a much-needed first look at what Canoo can offer, as their first EV is scheduled to hit the market later next year. But to be honest, the truck is definitely where it's at for us. At this point, all we can really do is wait. A promising future. Canoo's last hurdle, but by no means their least, is the obvious logistics and resource-heavy challenge that comes with manufacturing commercial vehicles. As a small startup, production and manufacturing can be a significantly large problem, especially with a product as elegant and trendy as the Canoo pickup truck. To remedy this, they plan to outsource vehicle manufacturing and get rid of recurring costs and overhead associated with owning and operating a car factory. Ultimately, these changes will not only give the people at Canoo more time to work on the pickup truck, but also improve the quality and quantity of whatever component they're working on. Every time a new invention, product, or technology hits the market, people are going to have their own opinions on it. So before this beauty of a pickup truck starts selling itself, we'd like to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about Canoo's subscription ownership model? Are you as excited for Canoo's pickup truck as we are? Are you already invested elsewhere in the EV space? And if you are, do you think this truck is enough to make you sway? Let us. Did you know that Elon Musk is the proud father of 6 amazing sons? Yes, the revolutionary mind behind companies such as SpaceX and Tesla is as much a dad as any father out there. Which makes you wonder, what kind of lifestyle do his privileged kids live? Surely they must be showered with all sorts of lavish gifts and comforts beyond their wildest dreams. After all, they'll be inheriting the fortune of the man who might just be the world's first trillionaire. Well, after watching this video, you might be surprised by the type of father that Elon Musk is. Because, as it turns out, he has a very unorthodox style of parenting. And even for a billionaire, it's pretty unusual. Elon's big family. Becoming the world's richest man would definitely put all of Elon's sons on the Forbes Top 100 list, even if they were to split the fortune amongst themselves twice. But that's because Elon Musk isn't your average rich guy. He works as if he's still living paycheck to paycheck and puts in 70+ hour work shifts every single week. So raising 6 sons doesn't come easy, especially for someone who has so many duties and obligations. He has to run multiple companies, conduct meetings with influential people from all over the world, and ensure that humanity's existential crisis, as well as its potential extinction, are averted. That's a whole lot of weight on one man's shoulders. So how does he balance fatherhood and being, well, humanity's savior? First of all, out of his 6 sons, only one of them is not a teenager. So Elon's pretty much out of the woods in terms of spending time with the kids. Like most adolescent boys their age, they probably don't want to be spending every waking second of the day with their father. But then again, not everyone's father sends rockets out to space. His first sons, Griffin and Xavier, are twins born in 2004 through in vitro fertilization. His second sons, Kai, Saxon, and Damien, are triplets that were born in 2006, also via in vitro fertilization. And finally, we have the newest addition to the family, X-A12, who was born on May 4, 2020 from Musk's current girlfriend and Canadian singer, Grimes. Sadly, Elon's first son, Nevada Alexander Musk, passed away tragically from SIDS in 2002. The boy was only 7 months old, and the tragedy was so devastating to Elon that he prefers not to talk about it. In fact, on a number of occasions, Elon has jokingly said that he would rather stick a fork in his hand than open up about his personal life. After a messy divorce, Elon split custody with his first wife, Justine Wilson, over the 5 sons they share together. According to Justine, all the affairs regarding her and the children are handled via Elon's personal assistant. Elon rarely communicates with Justine in person. But over the years, the two have managed to make their custody sharing work for the sake of their kids. Nicknames. Because of his busy schedule, and of course growing his enormous fortune for his sons, Elon rarely has the time to do what most fathers would do with their sons over the weekend. We're talking cookouts, picnics, or even watching the game with the boys. But that doesn't make Elon a bad father. If anything, he's admitted on several occasions that his one true love is his kids. And that's what he's actually nicknamed them, his true love. In fact, Elon spends every minute of his non-work waking hours bonding with his boys. The kids are also fortunate enough to have a wealthy father that can afford to take them anywhere around the world, which means that they get to travel to some of the most exotic places, all while their dad holds important discussions about power and renewable energy with key influential figures on the planet. Whenever he's held up at work, Elon makes sure to fly his sons down to the Tesla factory in Fremont, California, so that they can spend some time with him. And every year, the family also embarks on a camping trip to spend some quality time together, to get away from the media, and to also give Elon that much-needed break as he recharges after an exhaustive work schedule. Education. Like most children from a wealthy family with an enormous fortune to look forward to, Elon Musk's sons receive homeschooling. But it's not your average type of homeschooling. From an early age, they're enrolled in their father's own school, the Ad Astra, which he built exclusively for them. Why? Because he felt there was no reason to expose his sons to the current and mediocre school curriculum, especially with all the substandard education being offered in many of the public and even private schools around. Musk even said, "Students have different abilities at different times. It makes more sense to cater the education to match their aptitudes and abilities." He felt that public schools were too outdated in their educational approach. They adopt one syllabus that's rinsed repetitively for years, and then adopt another so-called new one, but with only a few minor changes made to the previous curriculum. At Elon's school, his children aren't placed in grades. Instead, he's hired some of the best teachers in the world to educate the sons based on their interests, aptitudes, and abilities. If they're good at a particular subject, then the teacher's aim is to nurture and develop it. The school also teaches them to focus their energies on problem solving and not relying on other people's tools and inventions to find a solution. His sons will often be given a series of electrical components to take apart. Once they've done so, they'll be given each individual component to study and figure out how it plays a vital role in running the entire device. It's pretty obvious that Elon is teaching his sons to be leaders, not followers. He wants them to grow up in an environment where they can flourish and become the best versions of themselves, rather than being slaves to the system. Life and discipline. One thing that Musk has admitted that really bothers him about his sons is that they haven't suffered at an early age like he did, which, in retrospect, he believes helped mold and shape him into the man he is today. He feels like suffering gave him that extra gear of strength and will to excel in life. Schooling in South Africa, Musk was the victim of systemic bullying, where he would occasionally get punched in the face. If there was no blood, he would wake up, shake it off, and pretend everything was fine. As for his sons, they're growing up with a whole set of experiences that are quite luxurious and unusual for most kids their age, but they probably won't realize until they're well into their 20s. For example, he recalls taking them to the Monaco Grand Prix, where they were hanging out with the Prince and Princess of Monaco. What really surprised him was that they seemed quite indifferent about it, like all this is all normal. But in reality, it isn't. Because let's be honest, most children wouldn't even dream of the opportunity of socializing with Europe's elite society. But as much as Elon is a loving father, he's also very strict. One rule he's stamped in his household is that his sons have to read more books than the number of video games they play. And even when they're playing video games, they're not allowed to play dumb ones. For example, there's one time Elon found them playing a video game where the only objective of the game was to tap on a cookie. He was so furious about it, he made them delete the cookie game right there and then. He then had them download another game where the objective of the game was to measure the flight path of a bird. Elon even joked, at least there was some physics involved. How will his son shape out? Unlike most children hailing from privileged backgrounds, Elon's sons seem to be well-grounded with an ever-present father figure that's molding them into the best version of themselves. Elon is tender, yet assertive. He ensures that they get the very best of what the world has to offer, but it shouldn't get to their heads. Especially because they'll be inheriting a fortune that's well into the realm of billions of dollars. We have yet to hear one of Elon's sons caught misbehaving at a house party or engaging in risky behavior. But then again, they are young and have only just begun to experience the freedom that comes with pre-adulthood. On the bright side, Elon seems to be guiding them towards a path of succession where they'll hopefully take over from where he leaves off. With his guidance and nurturing, Elon's sons have a bright future. We could potentially be looking at the next billionaire CEOs of Tesla, SpaceX, and the Boring Tunnel. But we'll let you call it. Do you think all of Elon's sons will transition into the world of tech? Or there could be one of them that's blessed with an artistic gift which he'll gradually grow into. After all, Elon's sister Tosca Musk is a filmmaker. Perhaps one of his sons could be the next Martin Scorsese. Let us know what you think. We'll go out on a limb and say that most of our daily routines haven't made us billionaires just yet. That is, unless you're the subject of today's topic, Elon Musk, the real-life Bruce Wayne of the tech world. With a demanding family of 7 kids, giant companies such as Tesla and SpaceX under his helm, and multiple new inventions and innovations like Neuralink that constantly need his expertise and oversight, it's hard to fit half of what Elon does into the average person's schedule. Before we even get started on his daily routine, note that Elon is what you may call a workaholic, and we can see it in every fathomable aspect of his busy life. So please, don't let his insane level of output put you down for 1 second. Hey, we're all built differently. Elon Musk's daily routine isn't nearly as complex as the man himself. It's actually so simple that you can break it down into eating, sleeping, and working. With the vast majority of his time going to, you guessed it, work. On average, Elon generally spends a full ordinary work week at each of his 2 major companies, SpaceX and Tesla, with enough time to spare for all of his other commitments. With so much on your figurative plate, you literally can't afford to waste a single minute of the day. That's the reason Elon Musk goes a step further and schedules his day into 5-minute slots to maximize his productivity. Every 5-minute slot is assigned a task, which he tracks and evaluates as he works. He'll also totally ignore phone calls for productivity's sake. Elon has previously said email is by far his favorite means of communication. This is mainly because he uses a special private email server that is closed off to the general public. He also curates his email feed to minimize time wasting and prioritize important conversations. Another shocking statistic is that despite famously working for 85 to 100 hours a week, Elon still manages to sleep a refreshing 6 hours every night. In a 2015 Reddit AMA or Ask Me Anything, Elon said, and I quote, "Sleep is great. I find that if I don't get enough sleep, I'm quite grumpy. I could drop below a certain threshold of sleep. Although I'd be awake more hours, I'd get less done because my mental acuity would be affected." With a bedtime of 1 a.m., Elon typically wakes up at 7 a.m., getting approximately 6 hours of sleep, which we already established is his sweet spot. He's not hell-bent on breakfast and in most cases will skip the morning meal to save time. A quick coffee and an omelet is also an Elon Musk breakfast staple, owing to how quickly you can make it. In his own words, one early routine Elon wouldn't dare to miss is the ever-important morning shower. He attributes it to being the source of various groundbreaking ideas. It's well documented on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast that one thing the mega magnet isn't as obsessed about is his workout regimen. Then again, he's not LeBron James, so let's cut him some slack. Nonetheless, he does have a fitness routine, working out for 1-hour sessions 2 days a week. He dabbles in a few martial arts, namely Taekwondo, Karate, Judo, and the gentle art Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When Elon hits the gym, his workouts of choice are weightlifting, running on the treadmill, or doing some jiu-jitsu rolls. Sometimes, the blistering level of success that one achieves may inadvertently portray them as a one-dimensional, ultra-focused person with no time for anything other than their work. So it's easy to see how stunned one might be to see Elon drop off his 5 kids at school every day before work. The fact that he can carve out some time in his jam-packed schedule for his children every day is heartwarming to say the least. After going through his emails, updating his journal, and rescheduling his day, Elon gets the kids into his prototype Cybertruck, with added emphasis on his, and drives them to Astronova, the state-of-the-art school he built to cater for their specific academic needs. And the Dad of the Year award goes to… According to Quartz, 90% of Elon Musk's work hours are spent at Tesla and SpaceX, splitting the rest of his time between many other projects. As opposed to the majority of his billionaire peers, Elon takes a very hands-on approach to all of his ventures, where he's a lead engineer, co-founder, executive, or designer. Truly a man of many talents. In a tweet back in 2019, Elon said that 60% of his time at Tesla and 90% of his time at SpaceX is dedicated to engineering and design, a testament to his action-oriented nature. From the outside looking in, it seems pretty hectic balancing work between two multi-billion-dollar companies, and I bet you're wondering how the fantastic Mr. Musk manages to pull it off. The answer? Delegation. He really doesn't have to do anything and everything himself. And in reality, nobody does. No man is an island, and Elon was well aware of this when assessing roles and giving responsibilities at Tesla and SpaceX. When interviewed by Y Combinator, Elon Musk briefly described a typical workday at each of his companies. He stated that the chief operating officer at SpaceX, Gwynne Shotwell, is a big part of the company's success. Gwynne spearheads and manages finances, sales, and legal issues, giving Elon enough time to focus on what he really wants to, the design and infrastructure. He spends most of his time with the engineering team, working on developing the Mars colonial architecture and improving the Dragon and Falcon 9 spacecrafts. At Tesla, it's pretty much same story, different day. Elon yet again takes a back seat when it comes to counting money and pushing papers. He's always hard at work on their latest models, so you can bet he's tweaking or improving something about the Cybertruck right now. Elon spends typically 12 hours a week dealing with visuals and aesthetics for the cars. The rest of the time, which is the majority, is spent working on the engineering of the cars as well as the engineering of the factory to ensure smooth production throughout. Productivity is a value Elon cherishes to his core, and he's become well known for his ruthless level of competence over the years. In 2018, Elon gave some enlightening recommendations via email on how to conduct more productive meetings at Tesla. His message? Hold shorter meetings, hold them less frequently, and with a smaller audience. This line of thought favors efficiency and shuns the time wasted in lengthy, repetitive meetings, the likes of which most of us can relate to. In less than 2 decades, Tesla has grown from what used to be a small startup to a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of cars sold around the world, thanks to Elon Musk's stellar leadership. Objectively speaking, his workaholic tendencies and tight-knit schedule have had a big impact on not only his companies, but by proxy, the world as well. You have to wonder, does it ever get overwhelming? As brilliant as he may be, at the end of the day, he is just a human. He admitted to nearing his breaking point in 2018. When he was profiled by the New York Times, Musk recalled working up to 120 hours a week. If you break that down, he was working an alarming 18 hours a day, with a mere 6 hours to do everything else, including sleep. Yikes! The little cat naps Elon would sneak into his work hours were a far cry from the optimal 6 hours he had become accustomed to, treacherous waters even by his lofty standards. He definitely did not have the work-life balance card in his deck. There were times where he would go full days without seeing sunlight or stay at the factory for 3 or 4 days on end. In a more recent interview, still with the Times, Elon Musk revealed a much calmer, centered, and healthier version of himself. He spoke about spending time with his girlfriend Grimes and their new child, catching up on anime like Death Note, and listening to history audiobooks and podcasts. This version of our favorite billionaire, albeit way more relatable, is at heart the same avid inventor we've come to know and love. Elon may drive his kids to school and take them on fascinating vacations, but as great a father as he is, he admitted to his work holding him back from being as involved as he'd like to be in their life. Elon lauded his partner Grimes and her pivotal role as the kids' primary guardian in their younger years. He did, however, acknowledge that once they're a bit older, his involvement will be more crucial and his role as a father will have many more responsibilities. The main thing you probably learned from Elon Musk's unearthly daily routine is that it's definitely not for everybody. Not by a long shot. But his effort, on the other hand, is something that every single one of us should emulate. Hopefully, this inspires you to create and follow your own patented routine. And hey, maybe next time we could be talking about a day in your life. Do you already have a secret routine of your own? Have you tried out 10 different routines and just can't seem to follow any of them? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.